Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to the Sales Factory, where we give you all the tools you need to succeed in your business. I'm pretty excited about today's episode. I got my man, the real Frank Besednjak, in the Sales Factory with me. You guys have probably seen him on socials. He's done coaching with me. I've spoken at some of his events, and I think today is going to be a real treat for you guys. We'll talk a little bit about management strategies. Frank is an expert when it comes to leadership. I've learned so much from this guy over the years. So, Frank, my man, welcome to the Sales Factory.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right,
Every
man.
time you and I get together for something, whether it's just for lunch or something, I look forward to it. We always have a good time.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And I was just sharing with Frank before we went live. It popped up on my Facebook memories that I had a video that, or it was on my Snapchat memories that a video from 5 years ago today. I was on there saying, "Hey guys, I got the butterflies. Tomorrow's the first ever event that I've hosted," and Frank helped me put this on. Frank's been doing events for years. We'll get into his background here in a second, but he helped me really kind of push through and do my first ever live event that wasn't like somebody else's conference, right? And so we did that in Louisville back in 2020. Little did we know at that time that the entire country and the entire world was about to shut down. This was before anybody really knew anything about COVID. And so that popped up on my timeline, and I just shared that with Frank. It's crazy, man, that it's been 5 years already. Time flies, man. But I want to say a special thank you to you for helping me organize and put that on. It was a small event. We had about 50 people, but the takeaways, the power that came out of that 1 day event, man, has lasted for years. And I know we helped changed a lot of lives and helped a lot of small business owners that day.
And I'm still in contact with some of the people who were there. Every once in a while I'll get an email and they'll say, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this," or "I'm planning on doing that," or "I have a dilemma with an employee or something." And they send me an email and I help them out. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why I'm here,
yeah, dude,
to
I love
help
it.
other people become successful.
Yeah, and so Frank, take a couple minutes here at the top of the show before we dive into some really cool information, and I know some great takeaways. But tell the people a little bit. You've got a wide range in management experience, but kind of give them the elevator pitch on who the real Frank is, and where you kind of came from, and
Okay.
what you do.
Well, starting at the beginning, I'm an immigrant. I was born in Italy. My parents brought me here when I was 10 months old. And we were very poor. In fact, my parents never learned how to read. They just worked hard. And I can go back and remember some of the things we did that weren't normal. Like most every Saturday, my dad and I and my brother would go down to farmer's market with a burlap bag for each of us, and we would go to the farmer's market downtown Cleveland, where I grew up, and go through the stuff that they threw away so we can have food for the week. And at the time, I thought nothing of it, but looking back now, it's like, eh, you know, what an experience. And we didn't have much. We got used clothing and shoes and things like that. And my dad did the best he could. My mom did the best she could. And I always thought, man, I'm gonna make something out of my life. And then when I see someone who can use some help, and if there's something I can do for that person, I'll do it. And it's kind of how my life has been. So as far as professionally, I served in the U.S. Navy for 4 years. Actually, 4 years and 10 days. I got in trouble, so I had to stay 10 days longer because I don't listen well. And then I left there, went to work for a Sony distributor, where we service Sony business products. And then I worked for Sony Corporation for a while as a technical support specialist. Left there, got a job with the RCA company, who used to make TVs. They made more TVs than anybody else at the time. And I was a service manager. We ran a service location. And this is back when they still had tube TVs, the kind that would heat up your living room, because it generated so much heat. Um, and then eventually, after a few years of that, oh, by the way, when I was at RCA, when I hired in there, they were the second worst performing location in the country. Out of 183 locations, I'm sorry, 138 locations, they were 137. And after 4 years of being there as the service manager, we were number two. So GE took over and they saw some of the stuff that I've done, which was unique and different from everybody else in the company. And so I got promoted immediately when GE took over. I became the area manager. Did a pretty good job and they liked what I had to do. Then they sent me to Louisville from Cleveland to become the manager of training and field operations, and then eventually got promoted to the point where I was in charge of all service and distribution for all of GE consumer products globally. Uh, 4,000 some people reported to me, and in various categories and levels, and loved my job, but it got to a point where it was starting to be too bureaucratic. Um, I didn't get along with a lot of the people who were kissing butt and doing things like that. I was more of a I'm going to do things my way kind of guy. And but I'd listen to my team. I would get input from my team, and then I would make decisions based on that. I wasn't one that was that really cared very much about trying to impress my boss or the vice president or the CEO. I could care less. I just wanted to do the right thing. Well, that didn't work that much in my favor because the right thing doesn't necessarily meet the corporate goals or obligations for that particular year all the time. So I'd always get in the hassles and beefs with different people above me, and they they uh, they sent me to a month-long executive development center in Crotonville, New York, where I got to meet Jack Welch, and then they did like a 5-day profile. You're sitting with psychiatrists and different people trying to
Damn.
determine your future in the business or whether you have a future in the business. And they had determined after those several days that I'm not one to take orders well, um, because I'm a independent. I like to do my own thing, and I like to do what's right. So it was funny because Jack Welch knew that, and we talked, and he actually said we're planning on opening a location in Yugoslavia. We're taking over a bunch of appliance companies and electronics companies in Europe. I'd like you to run the whole thing. And the setup was kind of neat because uh, not only do they pay for your beautiful home, they have a driver picks you up at work, takes you to work. You have people cleaning your house. I mean, it was like an incredible deal. It was a huge opportunity, and so I was planning on within the 6 month period of time going there, and then the war in Yugoslavia broke out. With Kosovo, all that crap. So the whole thing fell apart, and then Jack Welch got preoccupied because he was going through divorce and having some issues and everything else. So and then I finally just got fed up, and I said, "All right, I'm not going to Yugoslavia. That's not going to happen. I'm tired of these idiots that I'm working with." And just one day, I said, "The heck with this! I'm going to start my own company." So I left, and that was 32 years ago.
Wow. That's
And I've been doing this kind of stuff ever since. My first real job, uh, or my first customer, was Sears Home Services, and I helped them create a customer satisfaction program. Um, Basically, I designed a training program for them to use that improved the customer experience. And it went over really well. And then I got called by United Technologies Carrier to help them develop a similar program. So I did. And then it just kind of took off from there. Then people asked me to write articles for magazines, and so I started doing that. Next thing you know, I'm speaking at uh, big trade shows and uh, doing training classes here and there. And then suddenly, different states said that people who were contractors who were in the service contracting business needed to get continuing education. So I thought, well, here's another opportunity to make a few bucks, and then I could change some lives, and help people who may not have any information besides what they already know otherwise. So I started doing that and wound up being one of the most successful training providers in trades that there is. And then COVID hit, and suddenly everything stopped. And I thought, okay, I'm out of business. I can't go anywhere because I was doing coaching too, and all my coaching was in person. All my workshops were in person. All my speaking events were in person. And here I sat, and I thought, okay, I'm out of business. There's nothing I can do. So I saw that the school systems were doing Zoom, and I thought, well, let me investigate this. So within a 2 week period of time, I was online doing Zoom and just continued my business like nothing happened on Zoom. It was a struggle teaching other people what Zoom was about, because I'm dealing with plumbers, heating and air guys,
Right.
small business owners, and they're like, they're on the camera. You see this, I don't know what I'm doing, So it was quite interesting, but once I got over that hill the first few months, it turned out great. So the majority of my business is via this platform. It's
Isn't that
kind of
wild?
interesting, online.
Yeah. And guys, what's really cool is I remember the first time I met Frank. I went to a National Speakers Association (NSA), the ones that talk, not the ones that listen. I went to an NSA event in Louisville, and Frank sat down next to me, and we kind of had some chit chat, and he said, "I'll give you a piece of advice that'll help your business." I said, "What's that?" He's like, "Double your prices." And like, I didn't tell Frank what I charged or anything. He said, "Double your prices. Most people don't charge enough. That's their biggest problem." And I was like, "All right, I like this guy." And so I bothered him for, I don't know, Frank, what, a couple of years of like, "Hey
Couple of
man,
years,
if
yeah.
yeah, if there's ever an opportunity for me to speak at one of your trainings, let me know." And this is like, this is when I was just getting started speaking, so like, trying to find a stage to talk on. And very much like Frank says, a lot of times people that speak, they just want to help people change their lives and get better. And luckily, one day he allowed me to speak with him, and we've done several shows since then, and have created a great relationship. And Frank's done consulting with me, and so today's episode, guys, I wanted Frank to lay that out so you know who you're learning from. I think in the world of the internet, it's very easy for, and Russell Brunson, as much as I love Russell and he teaches, I've learned so much with ClickFunnels. I've learned how to be an internet marketer from Russell. One of the things I don't like is that he's like, anybody can be an expert. Just call yourself an expert and you're an expert. And it's like, you got to be careful. I think one of the challenges that I have with a lot of people that coach that are like, yeah, I just do this because I want to make a lot of money. It's like, I truly believe it takes a special person with a special heart to be a good coach, because you have to understand the weight of the advice that you give to people, right? Like even these podcasts that I do, like it is not lost on me that the information and the encouragement that I give, like if it's bad information, it could cost somebody their business or their livelihood. And so I think the reason why I'm so excited to have Frank on today is that this dude has walked the walk for years. I'll be 37 this year, so he's been coaching and consulting almost as long as I've been alive. And he's learned a lot, he's seen a lot, and all of the real world information that he's able to share. It's cool because it's just so digestible. And you know, one of the things that Frank and I talked about early on, and Frank, I don't know if you remember this or not, but like, you're the real Frank, right? It's like the no
Yes.
nonsense, no fluff advice that you give. We talked about the reason why I didn't really like National Speakers Association was because you saw these people that were like almost like they were just rehearsed. It was more of like a presentation, or like a dance recital, if you will. They're almost like robots up there versus
Actors.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
actors. There you go. Versus like
Yeah.
actually giving real world advice. And it's one of the things I love about you, man, is like you just tell it like it is.
I have no real script for anything I do. Whatever just happens to show up comes out of my mouth. And I've gone to like the National Speakers Association International Conference, and well, they threw me out. But anyway, because I was telling them what I thought, and and the funny part was, and I'd have to just share, I don't think I've ever told you this. I'm watching, I got the pamphlet about who the speakers are, and most of these people I never heard of, but they're supposedly the best speakers in the world. And and I thought, well, I got to see these people. This is real interesting. Maybe I'll learn something. And so I went online and looked at videos, YouTubes of some of the main speakers that were there. And I thought, well, they're really good. I mean, they're doing a really good job. So I got there, and the first day of the event, they do all the introductions to the introductions and then some awards and all that nonsense. And then they got past that, then they brought up one of the main keynotes out, and and I thought, this is great. I saw this guy on YouTube, and I told this lady next to me, and I said, I'm looking forward to this guy because I saw him on YouTube and he was great. So I want to learn. I want to be like this guy. So she says, yeah, me too. He's the best, she says. And so he starts speaking, and it was the exact same that I saw on YouTube. I mean, even the mannerisms were like, he like everything was rehearsed, the movements, the smiles, the looks, and all this stuff. It was exact. And so I pull it up on my phone, um, and I look, and it's exactly the same. They might as well just send up a video. And so I said to this lady, I said, look at this. This guy's doing the exact same thing. He's not a speaker, he's an actor. Maybe I should take my shirt off and run up on a stage just to freak him out. He'll have to start all over again. And she says, quiet, why are you interrupting me? So the whole conference after that went downhill. But I mean, I don't want to make fun of anybody or put anybody down. There's a great bunch of people with the NSA, but gosh, there's so many fakes, and it's sad because they're just they're good actors. Even people that I've seen that I've met out there that are coaches, they're just good actors. They're not sincere. They're just following these routines that they've memorized and the processes that they've learned to memorize, and they apply the exact same thing to everybody. There's no individuality, no creative ability beyond what they've created. They can't change. And I've always told people in my business and others, hey, you got to keep doing new things, keep learning more, and keep being creative. And, I'm almost 70 years old and I forget a lot of stuff. So, I mean, I understand that happens with age. You're like I went to Indianapolis to see Billy Joel, and I took a date with me, and I was talking to her the other day, and she says, "Man, that was the best meal I ever had up in Indianapolis." I said, "What meal?" She says, "At that Italian restaurant." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I swear I couldn't remember, and I'm like, whatever, I'll deal with it. It's not a life killer, ender, or anything like that. But, that kind of stuff happens. So I take a lot of notes. I use a PowerPoint to guide me through things. And so I've limited my coaching because of that reason. Because when you're coaching, as you know, it's freaking hard. I mean, it takes a lot of time. You got to remember a lot of things, take a lot of notes. You got to meet with everybody and remember what this person said, and so I'm gotten to a point where now most of what I do is I still do some coaching, some mentoring, and I do 2 Zooms a month, and that's it. That's enough work for me, and I'm happy. I
Yeah,
make more enough money that I could know what to deal with, and everything's good.
I love
I've
it,
worked
man.
enough years for this.
Well, Frank, I want to get into some meat and potatoes, bring these people some value because your philosophies, your mindset, your information that you have around leadership and how to manage in an organization. I've learned so much from you over the years. That's really helped shape a lot of the success in my businesses since I've known you. You talk about like it's kind of a cool presentation that I've seen you do where it's like it's not like, hey, here's what successful leaders need to do. It's like, hey, these are what bad leaders do. And I've always thought that was a cool take that you do, right? Of like, here's the bad things that leaders do. And so I was wondering, like, if contractors are kind of notorious for this, right? The blue collar guys is your space, and those are the like grizzled, grumpy type of guys, right? That's like, hey, I give you a fucking paycheck, just go do your job, right?
Yeah.
And like
Shut up, go to work.
exactly, and that doesn't work anymore, especially like with millennials and Gen Zers. We're seeing more and more surveys that come out that like people want to be in a place where it's like fun to work at, and company culture is super important. I'm wondering if you could maybe give us like three of your top things, and I know you've got hundreds, but like, what are like three of the top mistakes that you see maybe these blue collar guys will make as they start building out their teams and managing people, that really cost them opportunities, which ultimately cost them money, right? They're here in the sales factory to learn and to make more money. And so, what are maybe a couple of things that you could give us that you kind of see that, like, man, if you mess this up, like, you're really in trouble?
But the big thing is, and this applies to any business. I don't care if you're running a retail place or selling insurance, or it's all the same thing. Um, is have a system, a process. I always say business should run like baseball. Everybody knows how baseball works. What's the first baseman's job? What's the shortstop supposed to do? If you have somebody on first base and there's no outs and the guy hits a ground ball to you, you're at second. You try to get the guy out at second and get the guy out at first, so you have a double play. I mean, that's kind of how business should run. Everyone should understand what the rules are, how you measure, what their goals are, depending on what the circumstances are when something happens. We should all already have be programmed to know what's going to happen next or how we're going to handle it. Um, People should be rewarded for good behavior. When someone's screwing up, people need to talk to them. And there's a specific system that I've always used that still works. On how to deal with a poor performer or someone who keeps messing up. Um, Leadership isn't that complicated, and I know you're dealing with 100 different personalities sometimes, but if you set up the structure properly and everybody knows what's going on and what their real job is and what's expected of them on a regular basis and how to adjust and modify as necessary based on the situation or the environment they're in, and then that's it. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's when there's misinformation or lack of information or
Mm.
lack of goals, or no one really knows what is expected of them or what you want them to do. They just kind of go off, do their own thing, thinking they're doing the right thing, and they're not, but because no one gave them the right training or information to do it properly. I see that kind of stuff over and over again. So it's processes, systems, methods, rules. Those things are incredibly important.
Yeah, you said rules, consequences, and rewards, and like the clarity around those. And I know a lot of guys are like, maybe could be thinking right now, it's like, well, dude, I power wash a house. Like the house is either clean or it's not. Or, hey, I do plumbing. Like the pipes are either leaking or they're not. That's not necessarily what you're talking about, or about rules on that standpoint, right? It's like the actual operations of the
Operations,
business.
here's your paperwork. From the moment you walk into the business, here's the first thing you have to do. Here's the second thing you have to do. You have to keep in mind that there's a whole bunch of other people working around you. They're there to support you, and whatever you do affects their job too. So those things have to be in place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of the examples I give when I speak is uh, well, it has to be consistent, okay, for everybody. Like if you had a pizza place and it was a great pizza and you had a big customer base, and then every Wednesday you bring a new chef in because the other guy wants a day off, and the new chef makes pizza his way. He doesn't follow the recipe. Well, what's going to happen? Well, inconsistency. People come in Friday, suddenly come in on a Wednesday for some reason, and the pizza's terrible to them. And then they complain about it. And then what's the excuse? Well, we have a different chef.
Yeah.
That's not right. I mean, everybody should know what the system is. What's the process? What's our recipe,
Mm.
basically?
I like that. And that's what made McDonald's so successful, right? Ray Kroc came in and franchised that out. It was building the system so that if you got a McDonald's hamburger in Virginia or Vermont or Oregon, it was going to be the exact same hamburger, right? It was like it was
And
going to
they
be the
limited the potential for error by creating
mm,
systems that made it consistent. So they put processes in place to limit error, and they didn't leave anything up to chance. The only way they can do it is this way.
Yeah. I love that, man. Talk about consequences and rewards, because I think you've told me before. I believe it was you that told me this about, like, the like showing up on time, like when you like reward people for showing up to, like, you're rewarding them for doing stuff like they should be doing anyway, right? But like it's like, so, but like the reward system should be to like like go above and beyond, right? It should be rewards for above and beyond, not just like doing what is already expected
Right.
of you. I think you've told
Yes.
me that before.
Yeah, there's people who give awards for showing up on time for a month straight, and it's like, but whatever. I mean, if that works with your group, then that works with your group. I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter what you do, long as it incentivizes people and doesn't punish others for no reason. But then again, that goes back to the systems and processes. If they understand the systems and processes, their potential for error is greatly reduced. People screw up. You get some people that are late, so you're going to come in late 3 or 4 days. Um, the incentive to make them stop doing that is going to be an award. They're going to do it anyway. So, as far as they're concerned, they'll never get that award. So, there's really no incentive for them to stop. What
Yeah.
has to happen is you sit down with the person after something's happened. Have you told them, this is not acceptable, and they continue doing it? You just sit down with them and ask them what their problem is.
Yeah.
and together you solve it. Why are you doing this? What's the reason for this? And there's a whole process. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time, but i I can go through it that follows. Here, why'd you do this? What do you want to do about it? How are we gonna fix it? Because when there's an employee who has a problem and there's something going wrong, they have to fix it. It's not
Let's
my
yeah, I
problem
want
as
I know where you're going with that one. Let's talk about that, because this is the one where it's like you have somebody that's like that screwed up. You bring them in. You say, "Hey, this one?" Like, guys, I'm serious. Like, this was one of the like aha moments. Frank's like, you bring them in and you say, "Do you know why we're meeting today?" And they go, "Nope, got no idea why we're meeting." It's like, okay, well, take the rest of the day off with no pay, and I'll see if you can figure it out tomorrow. Right? They come in the second day. He's like, "Hey, do you know why I wanted to meet with you?" It's like they're only going to do this for so many times before, like, fuck, like, yeah, man, I know I fucked up, right? Frank, talk to him about that, about how that
well,
strategy that you have
actually
of like,
it works like this. Somebody screws up, you bring it to their attention, allow them the opportunity to fix it without interference from you. And
mm,
if that doesn't work and they're not able to do that and they continue doing something wrong, coming in late, whatever, and then you tell them, all right, as a result of this, I'm going to bring you in and we're going to talk one on one. So you bring him in and you look at him and you say, why are you here? Well, because you told me to be here. Why did I tell you to be here? Because I've been late 3 times in the last 2 weeks. Right. And then you look at him and say, what's going on? Why is this happening? And you just sit there and you don't say anything. Let them worry about it. And it's funny because the majority of the time, their answer is going to be the same answer like my son gave me when he was like 6 and he painted his sister blue. I asked him, why did you do this? What what's the reason for this? And his answer is, I don't know. And it's the same thing people will say. Grown men, I don't know. They no one's forced them to think about something like this. And now you're forcing them to think about it and take responsibility. You're not going to chew on their butt for a half an hour. You just look at them and say, why is this happening? And they don't know. And then you say, okay, meeting's over. We're going to meet again next week. Or I'm going to leave for 10 minutes. I'm going to come back. You think about it. And if they don't have an answer, then the meeting's over. There's no point in going any further. Then you meet with them next week, get back together. Would you think about it? Yeah. They'll say something because they don't want to have to sweat at night talking to their spouse. Like, I don't know what's going on with my boss. I don't, he threw it at me and now I have to come up with an answer. So they're going to say something, even if they have to make up something. That opens the door to communication. Once they say, yeah, I think it's this. And there's like 5 reasons why people don't perform well. And I don't remember them offhand because I'm 70. But it's like, they're sick, they have personal problems, they don't know what they're doing, they don't care, and one other. And so they might say, well, I'm going through divorce, or, we got a baby, I can't sleep at night, or grandpa moved in with us and it's driving me nuts and I can't focus, or who knows what's going on, or I hate working with Bill. He's a jerk, or I think it's some, they'll say all kinds of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing. It's too hot. Yeah, whatever. And then you go from that point and you first eliminate the things. Yeah, well, it's hot for everybody. We work on roofs. What else could there be? And you just eliminate things and you just move forward. And then the next thing you're saying is, so how do we fix this? How do we make it better? What do you think we should do? And let
And I
them
think,
come up with the answer.
yeah, because Frankie, one thing that you shared with me early on in like coaching me, you said their problem is their problem, right? And I think
Right.
that is huge, right? Because as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, a lot of times, especially if you're new in business, you think that like everyone's problems, all the problems in the business, no matter if they're business problems or people problems, they're all my problems. I got to solve all the problems, right? And I'm notorious for saying that entrepreneurs are problem solvers, and if we can't, if there aren't any problems, fuck, we'll start making problems, right? To solve. And so I think that was like an aha moment. I can remember my very first aha moments from you coaching me is that, hey man, their problem is their problem and they have to fix it, right? Otherwise, because if you don't get that buy-in from them, it's the you might it's like whack-a-mole, right? Like maybe it goes away for a while, but it's eventually going to resurface, right? And so um, I think it's so cool, like your strategy of just how it's hopefully you guys can hear is just it's just plain Jane, man, straight to the point, right? Of like just having conversations with them. And I can remember early on in business, being very very young, like when I started Easy Pro. I mean, fuck man, I'm 22 years old and I got a 46-year-old guy across from me and I'm having to like bitch at him because he won't clean his truck out, right? And it's like super awkward situation to be in. But what I needed to do was I needed this coaching at that time of like, hey, why didn't you clean your truck out? What's the problem, right? Like
And you know how I would handle it? I would have asked them what's the problem was. And if they still couldn't come through or figure it out, I would have said, fine, you don't have to clean your truck. I'm going to hire somebody to clean your truck and we'll take it out of your pay. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And that'll solve it. It's like, hey, something has to be done. We got to figure out a way to get it done. And
yeah,
we can either do it with you going along with it or without you going along with it.
I like that,
It's
man.
like having someone make you a sandwich and they keep making it wrong. It's not your fault. It's not my fault that they don't know how to make a sandwich. Maybe I need to teach them, or maybe they're just totally incompetent and shouldn't be making sandwiches.
Right. Take that one of the bank guys. That was a good one. No, man, I love it, Frank. Talk to me about like coaching team members, and I think communication is so important because one of the things that as I get longer in business, I learned that emotional intelligence is such a big part of being in business. And I saw Ishmael Valdez, he runs Next Gen Air, it's $100 million+ a year HVAC company out in California. He posted a question in one of the Facebook groups I'm in with him, and he said, "What's the difference between people that run $1 million a year business and $100 million a year business?" And my answer would have been completely different 10 years ago, but it was very easy for me. It was like, the owner either knows how to build people or they don't, right? Because like you can't do everything yourself. Talk to me like if I want to build a winning team, like what are some things that the listeners should be doing with their team, like to help encourage and build up those people? Obviously, systems are super important. You can't do anything if everybody's playing by their own different rule book, right? Like somebody hits the ball and they run to first, the next guy hits the ball and they run to third. That's a problem in and of itself. But like if everybody's on the same page, we have the rules, we have the consequences, we have the rewards. What is something that we should be doing with our teams, or like some insights that you can give us, maybe from your time at RCA or something like that, that you could share with my audience?
Well, one important thing is to listen to them because they're there. Um, they're doing the job. They're on the front lines, and always be open for input. And that to me was huge. That's one of the reasons that I took like the second worst place and made them the second best place in the country, because I listened to the guys and I involved them in some of the decision making, and something they never had. They just thought they were workers until I got there. And I mean, they had more grievances. It was a union shop, grievances like once a week. When I got there, I was there a week, got a grievance. I didn't even talk to anybody yet, you know, and because it was their mode of operation, to stay on top of things by keep complaining, and I eventually got them to turn around because they realized, oh my God, this guy's on our side. He listens, and so that was important. Another thing too, especially today, the majority of people would like to see a growth plan. Like, I don't, why do people leave businesses? Well, a lot of them leave because they don't see no potential for a future. So the only potential they see for moving ahead is to go someplace else. So if you created a growth plan for each person individually and just say, hey, here's our growth plan within 6 month period of time, excuse me, you should be able to be at this level of pay, and you won't be an apprentice or whatever you want to call it in 6 months. However, the only way to get there is to meet these 20 goals, to be able to professionally and correctly do this particular task. So and I have to observe you. If I observe you doing these 20 things and you do them well, then after 6 months, you can now move to this next level. And then the next step, there should be some key points. Like, you have to demonstrate the ability to do these next 30 things and do them well in order to move to the next level. And I did a lot of that with people who work for me. And I'd say, here's your goal. All you have to do is do these 20 things well. That's your job for the next 6 months. Along with bringing in money, obviously, this is what I need you to do. And if you want to continue growing in your career, this is the path. But it has to be clear as day to them. You can't just tell people, do a real good job and you'll do good. What the heck's that mean? I mean, some
Right.
people think a great job is showing up every day, and that's it. And they don't understand why they didn't get promoted because, hey, I've been here 6 months. How come I didn't get a big raise? Well, because all you do is show up. Well, nobody told me anything else. That
Right.
has to be clear.
Yeah, you helped me with this at Easy Pro before we moved to like our certified pro model. When I had technicians, like one of the things that was an aha for me was like we have to have levels, right? And because one of the things you taught me were minders, finders, and grinders, right? And so there's minders, there's finders, and there's grinders. And like the grinders, like sometimes people are just going to be grunts, right? Like they're
Right.
just good hard workers, but they want a growth plan as well. And so like what I instituted was like levels, right? And it was like so simple for us. I'll give you guys the example of it now. Is like, hey, if you can clean concrete, which is like the easiest thing to pressure wash, right? With Easy Pro was my power washing business. Like if you can pressure wash concrete, you're a level one technicians. And then within these levels, you have salary ranges, right? So like that guy would be from $12 to $15.50. And then a level two technician could do concrete and a house wash, and the levels of pay they overlap. If you're watching this in the video, I'm kind of like making an example here where it's like, a level one would be $10 to 15, a level two would be 12 to 18, right? And so
Right.
that way, if what I learned from you, Frank, was that like if somebody gets stuck, like, hey man, this guy's just only going to be a level two forever. He doesn't have any more ambition, or like you said earlier, like it's just him, right? It's like he just doesn't have the capacity to do
Or he
anything more,
doesn't care. He's
or doesn't
perfectly
care,
happy
right?
with
Just
lifestyle. Yeah.
he's just happy with drinking a six pack and smoking a pack of Marlboros a day, and like that's
Yeah.
just who
And
he is.
payday's Friday.
Paydays on Friday,
Yeah.
like and like you helped me a lot because like I used to like just get like, God, how could anybody be like that? But that's where that minders, finders, and grinders come in. That guy's just a grinder, just does his job. Though it's okay because businesses are made up of those people too, right? Like they all can't be a bunch of DJs running around or nothing would get done. It'd all just be a bunch of visionary meetings. And so like what happened was like those levels, you can help people still have growth trajectory, still be able to get pay raises, still be able to move up within staying in that level on the job, which I think was like super eye opening. That I think a lot of people, I say blue collar, but I mean fuck, you could have the same situation for you're an assistant, right? Like you could make, hey, you're my executive assistant. I have a level one, level two, and level three executive assistant. Like you're the only one, but like here's the levels that you can move through. It
Right.
gives that growth trajectory and then gives people buy-in because I heard it say one time that the owner's goals and vision has to be big enough for everybody else's goals and vision to fit inside of, right? And so, like,
Exactly.
some guys that work for you right now, if you're listening to this, you got a blue collar business, a plumbing business, or something. Hell, maybe Frank does your continuing education for you. Like, dude, one of your guys, it's just his goal to raise his family and one day buy a motorcycle, right? And if your visions and your goals for your business are not big enough for that guy to eventually grow to the point where he can buy a motorcycle, don't be mad when he leaves your plumbing business, your HVAC business, and goes to the one down the street that shows him that growth plan and says, "Oh shit, man, this is where I can come work at and eventually buy a motorcycle from." I think that's the point that we're talking about here, right, Frank?
That's exactly right. Yeah, you got it. And everybody has different. I mean, my dad was happy to buy a piece of land and he can grow some plants and flowers and
Now you're
vegetables on it. And that
talking my
was, and
style now.
he worked in a factory his whole life, and not his whole life, a major part of his life. And then he did house painting and landscaping and crazy things like that. That he dragged me and my brother around with as personal slaves.
We
Um,
got to clarify there, Frank. You guys are from Italy, not the house painting, like it's the like actually painting houses, right? It's like not
yeah,
the
really
mob house
painting
painting.
houses. Yeah, yeah.
That was a joke. It was a
Actually,
joke.
painters.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, man, and I think that's so important, Frank. That like people have to understand that like having that vision, having that place for people to be in your business to grow, because like people want to see where they can go, right? What's something else that you see is maybe a mistake that owners make? Obviously not having a growth plan for their people, but is there something else that you see a lot of times when you're looking at some of these small businesses?
Yeah, be okay with people screwing up. I mean, you screw up, and um, growth is learning. If you want to grow, people grow as they learn, and part of learning is making mistakes.
Mm,
And and I've always told the people who work for me, hey, at least you did something. It's okay that you screwed up, but it's better than doing nothing. People make mistakes. I mean, I made so many in my life, it's ridiculous. And I wish I could go back in time and talk to me, when I was younger. But it's what happens. It's part of growth. And if you lean too hard on people, um, it's going to turn them off, and they're just going to search for something else. It's just the way it is. So I mean, I'm not talking about someone who is, yeah, he's burned 3 houses down already. There's something wrong with that person. But I'm talking about little things. Don't, cut people some slack. Everything's not a huge freaking deal as you
yeah,
think it might be.
yeah,
There's more important things to life than just you know uh, going on another subject here. With employees, especially more now. Back when I was first a manager, all these guys cared about was working and getting the most overtime they could. It's not like that anymore. People want, like, because heck, when I was working then as a service manager, I was in that place like 14 to 16 hours a day, and then on Saturdays and Sundays. And like I felt like I worked half a day on Sunday because I was only there 8 hours. Um, but that was the mindset, and your wife takes care of the kids and you hang out with them every once in a while. And then you take vacation and do something with them. But today, people want to be involved with their kids, and they want to do things with the family, and their personal time is premier time. And
yeah,
those things have to be taken in consideration that, hey, there's more to life than your job and your career. It's your family. And I'm realizing that now when I'm getting older. Heck, next week I'm taking my grandkids and I'm going to Goodyear, Arizona, because I'm a big Cleveland Guardians fan, and we're going to watch the beginning of spring training for baseball, Major League Baseball. And we do
nice.
this, we do this every year, and we get to meet the players and talk to them. It's pretty cool. Um, but to me, those things are what make life happen. And it's the same with your people. That's what they're looking for. And keep that in mind. And even if you create things as rewards that incentivize family, um, it's something to think about. I can't think of anything, but like trip.
I can give you one, Frank. This is why I established our unlimited PTO time. Um, you know, health insurance was getting so expensive, and half of my team was like, oh, my husband works at Ford, or my wife works at Caterpillar. Like, I don't need it. They're a better plan than we can compete with a small business. And I kind of went back and I said, okay, I'm a big fan of like zigging when everybody else is zagging and using whatever your competitive advantages that you have. And I said, you know what? I know what we can do. I can shut down our entire operations, no meetings, internal, external. We have very minimal like attention to like if there's fires for the last 2 weeks of the year. Yeah, that week of Christmas, that week of New Year's, go be with your families. Spend time with your families. You get 2 weeks of paid vacation. And oh, by the way, while we're at it, since we don't have retirement and health insurance and all that, you guys have unlimited paid time off. Grandma gets sick. I don't want you to have to worry about, oh, I don't have any more paid vacation day. I can't be with grandma before she passes away. No, that is something you will remember. Go be with her, right? And like this is why we established our unlimited PTO time, because as an entrepreneur, like, why do I do it? It's not for money. It's for freedom, right? It's the time
Right.
freedom. And if I'm gonna do it for that, like my other team, like my team members would probably appreciate that same thing bestowed upon them. And it's cool, man, because you would think like, oh, Bill's going to take 3 months off. No, like it's within reason. There are rules and systems around it, but man, the feedback that I've got from my team around the unlimited PTO, especially with this younger generation, to be able to go backpacking and hey, cool, man, I don't have to miss the 3 day weekend trip, or because I'm out of vacation days, I can only go Saturday and Sunday. Like, no, go be with them, because when you're there, I want you there, and then when you're here, I want you here. Is the unlimited PTO thing, man, has been huge for us. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's
And
cool.
that stuff matters. I mean, that's huge. I mean, some people will never quit a job because you do that.
Yep. Amanda is one of them. She is like one of our team members. She's told me, she goes, DJ, I'm super grateful to be working here because of the family first culture that we have. And like I say it all the time to my team members, it's like family first, man. Family matters above everything else. Like the business will be here tomorrow. Take care of your family, be there for your family. And I think some of this has changed too. Once I got married and had a little one of my own, that has definitely changed
Everything
kind of the
changes.
the polarity, the lens that I look through has definitely changed. But yeah, I think that it's super powerful, and people gotta. I don't know, man. I still every once in a while I meet some of these hard asses, and it's like, dude, take a chill pill. Like, stop taking yourself so seriously. Nobody really
Yeah,
wants to work for those type of people anyway.
that's true. It's not everything is like such a huge deal. And I mean, there's times where you have to put on the show and act like you're losing your freaking mind as a manager because things are going sour. So you have to like, I mean, almost scare people sometimes, but I get it. I've done that, just to let them know the few times that I exploded and got pissed, like, holy cow, this is a big freaking deal. And everybody knew it was a big deal. Even though I was more acting than anything else, it's just, they'll see 99% of the time it's the calm Frank. He'll sit there and talk with you. And then that 1% of the time he loses his freaking mind and you're afraid he's going to get a gun or something. And of course I never did, and and that works, and people know, they'll remember that for the rest of their life. But if you're always that person on the edge and constantly freaking out, uh, that's the norm. Then it's like, oh, he probably lost his pencil or something, now he's losing his mind.
Just another Thursday with Frank, right? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Frank, talk about as we kind of wrap up here. Talk about you say while it's important, to kind of take a chill pill, if you will, and have some fun, right? Like life's kind of serious, right? Nobody makes it out alive. Have a little fun while you're here. I think it's important that we also maybe share, like, if somebody say they're messing up and you bring it to their attention and they're like, every time you bring it up to them, I talked about this in the last podcast I just recorded with David Peterson, is a victim mentality. Like, how do you handle that if like, hey, Jim, you messed up over here. Oh man, that's because of this, and this. Well, cool. Well, when I brought it up to you 2 weeks ago, you had a whole other laundry list of reasons. How do you handle that employee that maybe is playing that victim or always has excuses? How do you deal with that, man?
exactly what I was saying with the process that I said, it's what's the problem? Why is this happening? What are we going to do about it? And how are you going to keep it from happening again? It's like I told you to paint the car red and you painted it blue. This is your freaking job, and I mean it's just communicating. It's like hiring a contractor. I've been remodeling this house for like a year now, and I hire people, and here's what I expect out of them. Here's what I here's the minimum requirement. And I don't want to hear bitching about it because you chose to be here. I mean, I didn't go hunting you down. You chose to be here. You're getting paid pretty darn well. And at that point, when you have the whiners, they just have to understand this is the minimal that I'm asking from you, and you can't even do that.
Yeah.
That I don't get it. Like I don't understand people like that. People like that I'd rather not even have around me. They should go find another. I'll help them go someplace else if necessary.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I was looking for. Yep.
it's just they're the victim. I don't want to be around people who are chronic victims, and there's always a problem. It's too hot. It's not fair. It's too heavy. I don't like this. I have to work overtime. Everybody works overtime. You signed up for this. I remember I was coaching a company, and there was a bunch of guys bitching about their overtime, and they were installing air conditioning units, the installation group, and they wouldn't stop. And they're like, oh, 5 o'clock, everybody in the office is gone, and we're still out working until 6 or 7 o'clock sometimes. And I said, well, didn't you know that when you got hired? Yeah, but that's bullshit. Yeah, but they don't make the money you do either. You get paid time and a half. Yeah, sometimes double time. And I said, all right, so um, what do you want to do? We just don't want to work any overtime. So if you're out installing a system and you could finish it in 45 more minutes, but it's time to go home, you just leave, right? Is that what you want? Well, yeah. And I said, all right, fine. So here I went to the boss, the owner of the company, and I says, we're going to have a company meeting and just a meeting with all the installers, all the install guys. And I'm going to make a recommendation. And you just sit there, don't say anything. No matter what I say, just keep quiet. So I said, me and your boss, I had this meeting, and I says, here's what we decided to do. Me and your boss met a little bit, um, and I found another company that we're going to source out all this work to. So basically, everybody here will get laid off, and all this, and the other guy will hire you, but it's going to be at $3 less an hour to do the exact same work, and everything else applies like it is here. But we're going to pay them to do it, and that's the plan for the future. And these guys are losing their freaking mind. It's bullshit. Like, are you gonna? And the owner of the company is like, you know, And finally, I pulled him to the side later, and I says, "Don't say anything. Just tell him you're thinking about it. Don't say no. I'm not gonna do. Just tell him you're thinking about it, and just leave it go at that." And the whole freaking place turned around. One guy quit, who was the big noisemaker, the troublemaker, the loud guy, and he quit, and everything turned around and fixed itself,
Wow.
and he didn't have to lay anybody off. But sometimes you have to do it, give extreme cases. Well, you have your option. We could do it this way, or we can do this, because I just need this done. This is what I need done. These are the things that have to happen, and you're getting in the way of it. So whatever we have to do to make this happen, I'm gonna do.
I love it, man. I love it, dude. We could go for 2 more hours. I'll definitely have
I
to have you
know.
on in another episode, Frank. How can people find you if they want to connect with you online?
Frank at
Love
therealfrank.com.
it, man. TheRealFrank.com. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. Reach out to Frank if you guys have questions. Go check out his resources on his website. And Frank, I appreciate you being here in the Sales Factory, my man. This has been fun.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's always fun. We always have a good time together. I
That's
wish we
right.
could do this more and longer.
We'll do it again, man. Guys, if
All
you
right.
haven't hit the subscribe button, the like, the share, the comment, you know what to do. Get it out there so we can help more people find it. Until next time, I'm Coach Carroll. Hustle. It's worth it.